My 12-year-old son this morning asked me, how do glasses work? And I thought about this and gave him the explanation I'm about to give you right now, but I thought also this is probably a fairly good explanation, not just for a 12-year-old, but pretty much for anybody trying to understand exactly how light works in lenses and in glasses. So we need to start with a basic understanding of what light is. Light, the way we see it, and again, we're looking at light on my hand in this paper, is an infinite collection of photons that are being released from the electron clouds around the atoms in every point source that we see across here. So every singular point, such as that one right there, demonstrating by something we can actually visibly look at, is absorbing light from around us and then re-emitting it. And as it re-emits it as these spherical waves that then go back to our eyes or any type of camera sensor or anything else. And those spherical waves, of course, the distance between these waves is what dictates the colors that we see in the visible spectrum. And then typically what we do as a construct, and these are not real, but we designate these as something perpendicular to these spherical waves as rays that basically come out from these point sources. And that is essentially what light is, and what we see is this re-emission of sources, and we dictate this using these ray designations, even though they're actually perpendicular waves and spherical waves that are coming out from that. Now, it also requires sort of some basic understanding of the way light bends. So if you look at it, and let's say we consider just something very basic such as a prism. A prism looked in cross section, such as this, you have these spherical waves that are coming from, again, any type of point source. And again, what we typically do is we designate these as rays. But what happens when they meet another medium, and again, considering this is air, this is glass, and then re-emitting into air, again on the other side, is that these waves are then slowed as they pass into a medium. Now, it's a statistical slowing, but again, what you end up having is you end up hitting this at some certain angle, and then we call the ray as being bent necessarily, but it's really that the wave front is being slowed. And that's what causes this bending of what we see as the ray. And then you get the appearance as if the image is actually shifted when you're looking through from this direction to some new location. So it appears when you're viewing from this side that the light source is emanating from this direction, or anything that we happen to look at. So really, this is a basic understanding of the way a prism works. Now, the way a lens works is really no different, because a lens, if you look at it, and we'll start with just a common spherical biconvex lens, is really just this smooth curve you have in there is really just an infinite collection of very, very small prisms that occur across here. And as a matter of fact, if you look at it and you were to consider just in its grossest approximation, you could put on here for a biconvex lens basically two prisms back to back. And then once again, if you look at this point source, which again, we're looking at through everything on this page. And so any type of image, such as a person or anything else, is just a collection of these point sources that we're viewing, that they then emanate from every single point on the object that we're looking at. And then they're bent through this infinite collection of prisms so that they go through here. And at least in the biconvex case, that these then are producing an image of something over here on the opposite side, which in this case, of course, would be upside down. But what this does is this makes a real image on the opposite side, which then can be projected onto either a piece of paper or, in our case, onto the retina. And that's essentially what this allows it to do. Now, conversely, if you were to consider this light source as we're coming up through there and say we're looking at a different type of lens, that being a concave lens, well, again, this can be grossly approximated by prisms as well. And again, it's an infinite collection of prisms, but two back-to-back prisms which are just in opposite orientation, where again the light rays as we depict them here are bent, as it were, in the opposite direction. And again, it creates an image. However, it's what we call a virtual image, in which we see this image of this point source at some new location over here. Now, this cannot necessarily be projected on to any type of paper or a sensor, but both of these types of lenses can be used to correct for lens systems which are inadequately corrected. So now if we take it into the case of the human eye, and again, if we consider somebody's human eye, I'm looking here at a cross section of the human eye where light basically is coming in, and we have this lens system of both the cornea, or the front portion of the eye, and a little lens that sits on the inside of the eye. And then you have this receptor in the back, which is your retina. In the case of somebody who is nearsighted, then what ends up happening is that these light rays, as we depict them over here, are focusing somewhere in front of your sensor or in front of the retina. And what we're able to do by bending these light rays or these waves, moving them to an alternate position, is that we can refocus this light back onto the center, onto the retina, from a point-to-point source, and this allows us to be able to bring something that is in defocus for somebody that is nearsighted into focus using this type of lens, which again is a collection of prisms that takes all of the point sources from any image that we're looking at and refocuses it properly back onto the retina to, again, an analogous point on the retina. So we have point-to-point representation of every point on the object to every point on to the retina or sensor. Again, conversely, we can do the same thing in this case in an eye in which somebody is relatively farsighted. And again, we've got a retina in which the light rays, as we depict them here, are focusing somewhere behind the retina. In other words, there's the whole lens system of the eye is what we would call underpowered, and we can increase the power of that lens system by putting one of these convex lenses directly in front of it. And again, increasing the power allows these light rays from a point source to be projected back onto the retina at a single point. So again, we get point-to-point correlation between what is on the object and what is on the projected image back over the retina. And this is a simple way in which we can explain the way glasses work with a fundamental understanding of light, where it comes from, and the way that light behaves. Thank you so much.